Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Dreams of the Rarebit Fiend by Winsor McKay, the classic early comic strip from this brilliant artist. This edition came out in 1973 from Dover Press, a really great little publisher. I kind of want to delve further into Dover's catalog. I think they're not even around anymore, but they just had a lot of good books, printed them really well, and this is one of the things they put out that was, at the time, just an amazing treasure trove of stuff that, people could only read about before. This is kind of a reprint of a book that was published, I believe, in the early 1900s, and I think like 3 copies existed at the time, maybe less now. So this is kind of, except for the cover and some other stuff, it's pretty much a facsimile reprint, and it's just gorgeous stuff. I'm sure you're all familiar with Winsor McKay. His greatest creation was Little Nemo in Slumberland. Just an amazing technical artist. There's no one like that guy in comics history. He just really was a singular artist, and he was the father of animation. In fact, there is an animated Dreams of the Rarebit Fiend movie. It's got a different title. I can't remember what it was. But these are great. And this is, unlike Little Nemo, these were written and drawn for adults. Little Nemo is definitely for the kiddies. Winsor McKay wanted to make a nice little fairy tale-like comic. But these definitely deal with human adult concerns. So, God, I love that image. It's so great. Let's check this out. Just a list of some of the Dover humor books of the time. They had an edition back in the early 70s of Milt Gross, He Done Her Wrong, his kind of proto-graphic novel. A couple of Milt Gross books. And, they had Barnaby by Crockett Johnson. So, Dover was a very interesting publisher. We have a publisher's note with some really good biographical information of Winsor McKay. This is nice, getting a little bonus strip of one of his first successes, Little Sammy Sneeze. And the concept was every episode, Sammy would sneeze very hard and disrupt the world around him. But just because of Winsor McKay's amazing graphic acumen, they were always very interesting. Picture of him with Gertie the dinosaur, his animated creation, one of the first animated cartoons. Here's some photos of the Dreams of a Rarebit Fiend movie, which was directed by Edward S. Porter, one of the big directors in the early days of silent film. This was live action, as you can see. There's even a marching band song of Dreams of a Rarebit Fiend, the Edison Military Band. I was thinking about looking that up and playing it, but then you might not be able to hear my voice, which might not be a bad thing. But I got to look that up. So here we go. Now this is where it really becomes the facsimile. So this was the original title page, which they turned into the cover, basically. And then they have all these little introductions. Definitely very humorous. I think Winsor McKay wrote this little bit, or maybe he didn't, I'm sorry. For some reason, well, there's a weird little reason, but it's not that interesting. But these are all signed Silas. That was his pen name for Dreams of a Rarebit Fiend. So here we go. Every strip, same thing. We start in medias res, and someone's dreaming, having a weird dream. And it does seem like they're nightmares. They always go badly. And look at this. This one's horrifying. This is way before, comic strips and newspapers. There obviously wasn't as much censorship. Like within a decade or so, everything had to be family friendly. And you couldn't have anything too, whatever, transgressive or weird. But this guy's dreaming that he's trying to cross the street, and all the carriages are chopping off his limbs. It's pretty horrifying. And he's carrying his legs, a leg and an arm, trying to hobble across the street. And then finally an automobile completely just rends him asunder. And then every episode ends with, the person waking up and saying, oh, that's the last time I ever eat Welsh Rarebit again. So that's where the title comes from. Apparently, Welsh Rarebit was it's just like cheese on toast. I really want to look this up, look up a video. It sounds like a grilled cheese sandwich, but I think it's a little fancier. And apparently it was a very popular drinking food, so it would lead to bad dreams. I'm sure the drink had something to do with it too, because, when you get blotto, your dreams aren't that great. And then sometimes also the dreamer is a surprise. It's about this guy, but it turns out it's the wife that's worried about her husband, so she's having the nightmare. I thought it was interesting in one of these editorials that it says that it's supposed to be called Rabbit, Welsh Rabbit. That's the name for this cheesy toast, which is kind of dumb because it just makes it even more confusing. So, I don't know, I'm sticking with Rarebit because I always thought it was rabbit anyway. When I was a kid, I was like, is that supposed to be rabbit? Is that misspelled? So now we just continue. Every page is a different crazy nightmare. This guy's getting eaten by cannibals. And remember, this is 1905. So, that's how they drew black people back then. This guy is in some kind of afterlife. Well, it looks like hell, where he's stuck in hot cheese. The cheese of the rarebit, I imagine. Winsor McKay is such a great cartoonist, but his dialogue is so weird and stilted. People talk in such a bizarre way. Just almost fake, This woman's alligator handbag turns into a giant alligator that eats her. It's pretty horrifying. I like this one. This shows Winsor McKay's visual inventiveness and just technical dexterity. I mean, I think he was an architect, not professionally, but I think he designed some things because he just had this architectural eye, and you can see that in Little Nemo a lot more. As you can tell by looking at these few strips we've looked at already, these are a lot more sparse than Little Nemo. Little Nemo is just ornamentation. It looks like every page would take a normal artist a month to draw, even though he did them every week. But these, much more, not crazy backgrounds, not a lot of detail, but still really amazing. I don't know why this is really just this giant conductor getting bigger and bigger. So just all kinds of nightmares. Look at this one, another gory one where this guy's boxing these guys, and they're just bleeding so much that he's covered in blood at the end. I'm pretty sure this wouldn't have been allowed on the comics page just 10 years later. But the early day of comic strips, they didn't have the rule book yet. They didn't have it all codified. And, as far as they knew, most of these strips were for adults. It was adults reading them. This is very Little Nemo. Just such a beautiful storytelling going on here. The way the bed is flipping around. Some of these are so odd, I don't even get the joke. I guess it was a different time. It's over 100 years ago. This guy's racing a dinosaur skeleton at the horse track. I don't know why, but, they're dreams, so they're not supposed to make sense, really. But just beautifully drawn. We see Santa Claus turning into a human icicle. A lot of these situations are actually quite horrifying. Like, I'm like, oh my God, if I had that dream, I'd just be freaked out. I guess I would swear off Welsh Rarebit if I ever ate it. That's great. All this great stuff here. Business going on. These guys are just driving their cars through buildings and crowds and just massacring people. Here's a woman caught on a railway trestle and the train's coming. I like that she headbutts the train and stops it. And it causes this massive train crash collision. The train behind it rams into it. This woman's having a nightmare about her two lovers dueling for her, and they both get killed. Once again, that is great storytelling. The funny thing is, you can't even call this cinematic. Like a lot of storytellers in comics, it's like, oh, they have a cinematic style. There weren't even movies that could do this yet. The movies were pretty much just static stage adaptations. This is all from Winsor McKay's imagination. It's amazing, just without any predecessors. He just did this so well. Except for his crappy lettering. He never learned how to letter. These letters are, for the most part, this lettering is better than Little Nemo. There's definitely some signs of the times. This is about Teddy Roosevelt's election. Some of these show real, like, human, foibles, I guess. I can't think of a better word, but just this homely old woman is like, I'm tired of being a spinster. And she, like, puts on padding, so she looks like she has bosoms and a butt. And she puts on makeup, and just all these men start hitting on her. Almost to the point where she's like, hey, get away from me. But just the insecurity of this woman is palpable, It's like, oh, it's kind of sad. That's how a lot of people feel, I'm sure. Yeah, if only I was pretty. Lion wrestlers. This one is really hits home for me. It's just about a guy having a nightmare of speaking in public, and he can't get the words out. Which, if you've heard my YouTube channel, if you've seen this, you know this is my greatest fear, because I'm not very good at getting words out. And this guy's like completely stuttering and can't even pronounce a simple word. Once again, it's the wife's nightmare. I guess because she's so embarrassed at her husband. At his bad diction. And this Winsor McKay is so good at this. For some reason in the stream, all these animals start popping up. This horrifying lobster man. And then he's totally surrounded by this dragon. God, I love his drawing. This is definitely another thing we've seen in Little Nemo. 100 years before Photoshop, Winsor McKay was doing it with his pen. Just warping bodies. He loved to do stuff like this, and he's so good at it. I mean, it just seems like mental gymnastics trying to figure this out. If you know how to draw someone correctly, and then like figuring out how to make it do this, pretty incredible. A lot of these things are just silly. Like this woman's pulling a little hair from her husband's coat. It just turns into this, like, I don't know, 500 feet of hair. This is very interesting. Speaking of pre-cinematic, look at this. We've seen this shot so many times in movies where it's the person's point of view, like, oh, the person on the hospital bed looking up at the doctors. I'm pretty positive this was not done in silent films up to this point. But he does it here. Does the perspective, looking up. And we see this guy on his deathbed and getting buried. pretty horrifying if you actually had that dream where you're in the grave looking up and they're throwing dirt down on you. The worst part about this dream, too, is it's like everyone's happy he's gone. His wife is like hitting on some guy during the funeral even. So it's just that total insecurity nightmare. I'm just like, oh, everyone hates me. I'm a piece of shit. Oh, this is a very typical dream we've probably all had. This guy's walking around in his underwear or his nightshirt back then. And of course, it's very embarrassing. Kind of a common dream, they say. Man, I love his style so much. I know I keep saying that. This one, this dog just keeps not only getting bigger, but mutating into this like demon dog. Pretty weird character design. It almost looks like a Bubastis from The Watchmen. Some more great animal drawings. This guy's in his bathtub and all of a sudden these aquatic creatures start attacking him. Hippopotamus and an alligator or a croc. This woman takes the wrong pill. She was supposed to take reducing pills and she just keeps getting fatter and fatter and the husband gets skinnier and skinnier. It's amazing how different this is than Little Nemo when it comes to the backgrounds. It almost seems like Little Nemo, so much of it was just an excuse to show off these vistas and beautiful cities and palaces. But it's pretty much blank. But even the little stuff he does show us, just this rocky outcrop, just so perfectly drawn. Every line is in the perfect spot. Oh, this is great Little Nemo type stuff. This giant guy is just stomping through the city like King Kong. Knocking over buildings, sitting on the Brooklyn Bridge. You could totally take this one as a commentary on like capitalism or, because this guy's a total like basically just a rich turd who doesn't give a shit. He's just sitting on the Brooklyn Bridge saying, hold up. Sorry, guys. Sorry to make the traffic jam, but I'm really not sorry. He's pulling out subway cars from the ground. A lot of just goofy things like this. Hair tonic goes awry. Oh, this one's amazing. This train is just goes off the rails, is careening through buildings. It chops the Statue of Liberty in half and then ends up in the ocean. Excuse me. This is also slightly political because this guy's a scab driver and this, rich owner of the trolley line. So like, don't worry about it. We'll break the strike. And of course, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. That's why he goes off the rails. More perils from nature. This was just about a guy who gets home late and his wife turns into this like she-demon banshee who just beats the shit out of him. This one, the guy goes to Utah. He moves to Utah from New York City, and now he has 12 wives. And he just says what a bitch it is. Like, he goes to the bank every Friday after a hard week at work, and they're just hovering around him like vultures. Like, wait, let us see the money. Nope, you can't go get a beer. It's all for us. And then finally he says, I think I'll handle the money by myself from now on. And they just beat the shit out of him. A lot of Winsor McKay loves to like do perspective stuff like this, like fun stuff like this. Train is going up a huge hill. Obviously, though, it gets to the point where it's just completely vertical, and this guy's getting crushed by all these fat people on the train. Just likes to play around with perception and stuff. Another interesting one. This guy takes a youth pill and it works a little too well. Turns into a cute little baby. And his wife comes home to find him like, what am I going to do with this? This one's gross. It's like she's pulling at a corn, trying to pull it out from the root, and it just keeps coming out. Like a corn on her foot. And then it starts sprouting and turning into a corn plant, and the doctor says, you can't cut it off. You'll bleed to death. So she's just stuck with this corn stalk on her foot. It's weird how dopey and like just silly these gags are, but I love this stuff. I love this format. I wish artists would continue Dreams of a Rarebit Fiend to this day. It's just, I know some people are bored by hearing people's dreams. I love hearing weird like dream stories, like, oh, what'd you dream about, you know? So it's such a great format. Hopefully if they were done today, they'd have a little better dialogue. Because Winsor McKay's dialogue is so weird. This is about a match that won't go out, no matter what the guy does. I kind of like this one where this guy's dreaming that he's the emperor of New York City. And he just has total power. He feeds his older wives to the lions when they get too annoying. Because he's got a harem of wives, you know. And he's just a complete, you know, like basically he's Caligula. And when he wakes up, it's a cop. Which is kind of another little political statement there. Because that's what he wishes he could be. It's kind of an interesting panel for McKay. Look at all this cross-hatching, like shading. Usually doesn't do that. I like this one where the guy's going into his boss's office to ask for a raise. So he steals himself up. And basically, so he's a giant when he walks in. And as he realizes that his pleas are falling on deaf ears, he gets smaller and smaller. And then the boss basically says, leave me, you're never going to get a raise. In fact, if you ask for one again, you're fired. And he just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. I think we've all felt like this at some time in our life where you'd almost feel yourself diminishing in front of someone. Just like, I'm nothing. This one is so weird. This guy's just perspiring so heavily that it floods the trolley car he's on. Which is almost like, I wonder if this was done... I just a few weeks ago, I was bitching about the crying gag and so many comedy comics where somebody's crying so much that it starts filling up the room. And I wonder if Winsor McKay started it with this perspiring gag. More like almost body horror stuff going on here. This dentist is trying to extract this tooth, and it just gets more and more ridiculous. Look at him. He's like yanking her neck out. He throws dynamite in her mouth at the end. And thankfully, it's just a dream. As much as I love toasted cheese, I will eat no more. Of all dreams, oh, what a dream. No, I'll eat no more rarebits. That's how everyone talks in his comics. Very odd. You know, I think I missed these last night when I was reading this. I'm not going to read them now. I'll read them later, but it just looks like more zany antics going on. I like this guy. This devil robot head. And speaking of political one, look at this, like, basically this rich industrialist type guy. He's just walking on everyone's head. Just gaily being like, oh, I have to get to the bar, have a drink. And he's stepping on everyone. And then finally, he's pulled down. And they say, come back to Earth, old man. And that's it. Oh, I guess here's a list of more Dover books that I probably want to buy all of these. That would be nice. So there you go, guys. Dreams of the Rarebit Fiend from 1973, Dover Press. This is just great stuff. I guess I did some research on the internet, but I couldn't find exactly how many Dreams of a Rarebit Fiend strips there were. I believe it started in like 1905, around then. And it said that some of them were even made up into the early 20s. But I don't think it was a regular feature. It wasn't like every week after the first couple of years. So I don't even know how much more of these exist. I kind of hope there's hundreds of them, even though I wish I owned them. I'm sad that I don't own them. I would just love to read more of these because these are really fun. I just love this simple, dumb format of every page having someone wake up and say, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that rarebit last night. But the dreams are all really interesting. I love the fact that they're all one-offs, all different, interesting, surreal dreams. So hope you guys like looking at this today. And I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.